All right, so guys, we have a fun one today. So I've got to set this up. So, Tuesdays, every Tuesday is Trend Tuesday. We focus on trends, right? We pulled a report that tells us what trends are popping.
Yep.
Talks about, trends that have shifted significantly and also trends that have reached an inflection point, right? And the two trends at the very top of the list this week.
What?
Insects and crickets.
Oh. So are you going to try to talk us into eating the bugs?
Yeah. Is this eating?
Oh yeah. This is consumption of insects and crickets.
Okay.
And you guys might ask, Megan, why do we even cover such trends? And it's because one of our brand clients a few years ago was investigating the incorporation of different ingredients and the rise of different ingredients, and insects was one thing that they wanted us to look into.
Okay.
Is this something that they should spend research and development
dollars? Do you remember what
on?
our answer to that question was? Did we advise them to?
No.
Did they?
No.
Okay.
I don't know. Not yet.
No, I haven't seen the cricket bars out yet.
Yeah, I haven't
by that
seen,
company.
Correct. I haven't seen it yet. But
wow.
All right, so we're diving into, every Tuesday at LikeFolio, if you come to LikeFolio.com, sign up for the daily drop. We put out every Tuesday is Trend Tuesday, where we talk about a trend that's popping or a trend that's dropping in terms of consumer activity. And it just so happens that this time what's popping is people talking about whether or not they're going to eat insects and bugs as a protein source, I assume.
And crickets specifically? This is that's the hot one, I guess?
Crickets is just the one that is being used right now most often, but you've also got grasshoppers. You've got mealworms.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could,
larvae.
if you put a grasshopper and a cricket next to each other, I'm not 100% sure I'd be able to pick out which one's which.
I think the grasshopper can fly.
It's got the wings?
I think.
The cricket doesn't have wings?
The cricket chirps. But that's a crazy chart. Look at the chart.
This is
95% year-over-year growth.
And that's really looks like it's 95% like almost month-over-month growth. That's straight up.
This was a big catalyst, which is why it triggered, right? This is what brought it to our attention. But it is something that I think is a cool way to show how we can look into something and say, okay, is this real?
Right.
Is this a fad?
So what is I don't think any of us are like the hardcore proponents, but what would the proponent of insect protein, what would the sales pitch be?
So I'm glad you asked, Landon, because I also had to really dig deep into this to be an unbiased research panel of there are people, I looked up demand mentions and mentions of people who are trying these food items with crickets or with insects, and it is rising. Okay, so people are trying these things at least.
Are they all communists?
That's tough to tell from a
It gotta be
user profile, but this is the case here. So
okay.
People talk about it being an equivalent replacement for animal protein, being more eco-friendly. Right.
So this is ESG basically. It doesn't
Correct.
look like there's anything that's like this is better for the individual. This is more like it's better for the whole, which goes back to your point.
All right, so let's read through all 5 of those for people that are listening in their car, on Spotify, or on Apple Podcasts. So it's equivalent amount of quality protein compared to animal, less care and upkeep than livestock. The claim is that we're running out of protein again by 2050, just like when the world's going to end because of climate change. Insects are part of a virtuous ecocycle, which that one I can kind of see. I can kind of see why it's better to kill a cricket than a cow. That's not hard for me to understand that. And you can start small and work your way up. In other words, they're going to put little cricket powder into your snack bar, and then later on, your kids will be ready to eat crickets for dinner.
Yeah. And
with buffalo sauce on them.
The last one's basically saying we know this is terrible, but if you just kind of work your way
Yes.
This is the case though. This is
what they're talking about.
This is what people are talking about,
this
right?
This is the sales pitch.
And then I wanted to know, of course, I'm like, well, give me the nutritional value breakdown. And I was going to quiz y'all, but you saw it first to see if you could guess, per 100 grams.
So Caterpillar is that's the protein guy.
Mm-hmm. That shocked me.
Wow.
So this is per 100 grams. If a caterpillar weighed 100 grams, 35 of those grams would be protein.
Yeah.
And 15 would be fat. Whereas a chicken is only 19 grams, but beef is 20. So really, aside from the caterpillar,
Beef, pork, and chicken, they're all basically 20.
Yeah.
And so is cricket and larvae and silkworms. Larva.
Mm-hmm.
Mealworm. I got it now.
Weevil.
Caterpillar. Right.
Yeah. So the cricket, you're getting 20 grams out of every 100 are protein, but almost no fat. And then very similar to chicken.
Is that calories, that kcal? Is that what that is?
Yeah, essentially.
Basically?
Energy.
Wow. So they also have high calories. Why does the bottom one have so many calories but not a lot of protein?
So much fat.
Oh, okay.
The weevil.
All right. I guess what kind of macros you're going for is that's
the bug of choice.
The bug of choice. Like, are you bulking right now? Are you trying to cut? Like, I'm on caterpillars right now.
Yeah.
What are you on?
It looks larva. And every insect is keto friendly. So
this is the one. This screen. Yes, I saw this on Twitter. I'm glad you added this. Megan, describe that middle one especially.
So it looks like a bag of cheese puffs, and this was in Canada. This was a brand that was available for sale, and you can see that it's labeled as sustainable. And if you look at our trends, we also track sustainability. It's one of the ESG trends that we track. And consumers who are trying to become more sustainable, that is on the rise. So you can tell this brand is trying to leverage that trend. But you have to look really closely to see in the back, if you look at the ingredients, it's made with cricket flour.
Wow. So there's no regulatory thing that says when I buy something, it has to tell me this is made out of insects.
Well, I think it technically is.
On the ingredients list.
But it's got the little warning there at the bottom that says contains milk and crickets in case you're allergic. If you're allergic to shellfish, you're allergic to crickets possibly.
I'm definitely allergic to crickets.
So now if you see
I knew it.
sustainable, that's like the word, I guess, to look for.
That's the code word. You see sustainable, you got to flip it over and look at the ingredients.
Flip it.
and not do it.
And it's going through this process. The EU basically said we authorize this as food, right? Yeah. And so this is what started a lot of those conversations. This is why you see that massive spike, that this is now something that consumers are talking about. But you can see, these are some products.
Dark chocolate crickets.
I wanted to show some of these.
Bites,
like this.
Pure cricket powder.
And look at this. Do you see that? I should have looked up how to pronounce this. Is it Akita? That's cricket.
Okay, that's the word for
that's the
cricket.
word.
Fueled by ACHETA protein. If you see that word, acheta.
Yeah.
At least the other one's like pure cricket powder.
And they got a picture of the cricket on the other one. That's honest advertising.
Yeah.
The other people are trying to slip it
this
in.
This one I might pick up.
Yeah, on accident. The protein bar, you might pick that up.
And you'd eat it for 2 weeks and you tell somebody about it. And then they'd know, they'd be like, Megan, you're eating crickets. That'd be great.
When she starts rubbing her ankles together and making like weird noises.
Oh my God.
In all seriousness.
Do you know anybody that is into this? Just curious. Because there's got to be tons of people that are into this.
Okay.
Maybe not in Louisville, Kentucky, but...
This is, I think, a very
San
regional thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is something where my brother, he traveled to Thailand once. He spent like a month in Thailand in between his studies. And he said this was very common, that you could see this on street food markets.
Like actually eating the insect,
actually
not just
eating
powder
the insect.
into
Correct.
a bar.
It's prepared that way.
Got it.
I think he tried it. I think what he tried was a grasshopper though, but it was one of those just tried for a novelty perspective, but this was something that people were buying. So I think that we do have to consider the regionality, and that this is, the U.S., if you look at North America, we're fourth on that list in terms of popularity.
Yeah, it's just showing Asia Pacific has gone from $175 billion on insect eating to projected 476 billion.
Million, right?
Million. Yeah, 500 million. So these aren't huge numbers.
Yeah,
this is small, but the growth in every region is pretty remarkable. So
it's about 3x across the board.
Yeah.
And this is the projections for 2023. Yep. And I do think it's relevant to note this was technically research from like 2018, these projections. So now this is actually accelerated. If they look at the global market, I think it's close to 9 billion. Okay. That's what they're expecting growth-wise. So
we were hoping, we talked in the office, we asked everybody, are you into this? Have you tried it? And it was no's across the board. But I did ask Lynn about it. I think we should bring her in and just because she said she has a different angle on it.
Yeah, I would love to hear Lynn's perspective.
Hey Lynn, can you come in here real quick? All right, so Lynn, I asked her about it and I'll let her speak.
Right over there.
She's,
Get right.
You come over
here. Take my mic and just tell me what you were telling me earlier about the insect protein and your knowledge about it in China and other places.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Yeah. It was a fun conversation because in China, especially in the southwest region, many people from those states, they would like to explore delicious food. And insects, like some of them are growing in very clean plants like bamboo. So those insects are pretty clean and very nutritious. They have various kinds of like proteins, essential minerals. So people would like to like fry them and eat them. Yeah, those are very famous food.
Yeah, I think it's all about, I guess, perspective, you know? Like when you think about it, I mean, when you think about eating anything, you know, when you think about eating bacon, I don't really want to think too hard about what
where
I'm
that
eating
came from
when I'm eating bacon. So I think it's just a mental step of, okay, eating this thing, how is it really different?
Yep.
And other places are just steps ahead of us. And so,
or more desperate. I think you could also make the argument that the tougher your food supply situation is, the more likely it is you're going to eat insects. I know that would be the case for me personally. You know, I'm not speaking for entire countries, but you know, if I got hungry enough, I sure would eat it. Thank you, Lynn, for the perspective.
Appreciate the insight, the tap in.
I agree. I mean, at some point, you know, you eat what you eat. You got to eat what you eat. You got to get food.
So how do we wrap this up, Megan? Are there action items we've got out of this?
Yeah, we do. So I think this is, for us, we look at sentiment. So we see that buzz.
Yeah.
And if you are a protein bar maker, you're like, do I need to start making protein bars from insect protein? Is this something that consumers want?
I feel like that's a gamble, right? Because you could turn off customers. You could.
Yeah. And so this is where sentiment, I think our sentiment is a really good indicator and a gauge of acceptance and long-term adoption.
Yep.
So for those of you who are listening and not seeing the chart, it's basically consumer happiness, which is 0 to 100%. What percentage of people are happy about eating insects, whether they like it or not, effectively. And it's been for maybe 6 years, kind of bouncing around 80 to 85%. And just over the last 9 months or so, it's dropped pretty quickly, and it's down 13% year over year. Now it's down around 71, 72%. So that's a pretty big drop.
Yeah, it's one of those things when we look at sentiment combined with buzz, when you see buzz increasing,
correct.
If you see consumer happiness or sentiment also increasing, that's an amazing story. But when you see the greater the adoption, the less people like it, that tells you a totally different story. So,
and that seems to be more common with our data is as adoption goes up, happiness goes down. Just in general.
I'm glad we went for lunch before this.
So this is.
Why would you? I mean, just eat a cheese pizza. I don't understand why you got to put that on there.
But this is what people are talking about, and this is a couple of different ways because you saw that sentiment level. I won't lie. Initially, it was higher than I expected it to be. And it's because you got to think these first adopters, these are your loyalists,
exactly.
right? These are your loyalists. These are people who are trying to.
They're proud of.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
these are a couple of different.
We're looking at a pizza in Mexico with some sort of worms or bugs on it. We're looking at a guy at a baseball game, of all places, with a bag of a bowl of crickets that looks like it's about the size of a Dixie cup that he paid $5 for.
Is that a shooter? Or is he going with fingers and,
I don't know.
bite by bite?
Stop.
And a little avocado grasshopper roll kind of thing.
That's ant pepper on the side.
Oh,
Ant
of course.
pepper.
Why wouldn't you put ants?
Well, that's disgusting. So I'm in the camp that this is not going to happen in the United States. Well, at least I hope so. North America, I don't think we're going this route, although I do see how there could be a niche market for it.
Yes.
Is the whole key, right?
I think that's the key. I think another key takeaway is that consumers feel betrayed when they feel like it's buried.
Yeah.
So if you are a brand that's going after this, don't bury the lead.
Right. You've told me sustainable,
Correct.
but I got home and found out I'm eating worms.
Make the connection.
Right. I don't want that.
That's
My wife one time made the mistake of trying to slip some plant-based meat by me. I was like, this tastes a little different. She's like, dang, you noticed. And I was like, what? She's like, this isn't real meat. And then from then on, it was like, I couldn't trust. I was like, what about this one? Is this real? Is this real? Is this real? Finally, years later, I know that if she puts something in front of me, like, all right, that's real. That was a cow one day, but now it's on my plate. But man, that trust took a while to get back.
that's it. So
Marital lessons from LikeFolio Podcast Studio.
Don't slip in the fake meat on your husband, ladies. Don't do it.
yeah.
Right, cool.
So authenticity
Yep.
and like building that trust is important as a brand. Also, just in general, a lot of people are talking about maybe the quality isn't there yet. So if this is something that you are going to develop and research, it needs to be equivalent from a taste and quality perspective for consumers.
It feels like the same conversation we had about Beyond Meat and
Correct.
plant-based and all this stuff.
Exactly.
And then 4 years later, we're still kind of having the same conversations.
Correct.
I don't think that they ever got over that hump yet, but they probably will someday. Synthetic meats or something like that will come along.
Yeah.
Be good. I just don't think we're there right now. I'm not rushing out to buy any
Right.
bags of crickets to eat, but
Well,
Correct.
the bubble kind of burst on that because the macros it wasn't healthier for you, right?
right.
So I think that if you're going to make that claim, you've got to back it up. So maybe with I forget which one was the top,
Yeah.
Caterpillar.
Yep.
Maybe that's the one that can get there if it tastes good. I don't know, but
Yeah.
it's got to have. I think it has to have value to the user, not just to the community. Like if your whole pitch is, if you do this sacrifice, we'll all be better off.
Yep.
You know, that's great to brag about that you did it, but it's hard to sell somebody on doing it. It's like
Right.
you should do this because it's going to help you.
Yep.
Right.
You know?
And
It's not there.
yeah, so I think my key takeaway is always check sentiment.
Yep.
Whenever you're looking at a fad and examining a fad, check and see what that sentiment levels look like. When you see big spikes and you see sentiment spiking way down, that's not a good sign
Right.
for long-term adoption.
But
So-
if we find a company that nails this,
Correct.
then
There's
we're
a
looking.
niche.
Yeah, we're looking for it. They're not there yet, but when one comes out and is the clear winner, then it could be an investment.
Yeah. So we'll keep our eye on more trends at LikeFolio. Tuesday trends every week into your inbox. Just go to LikeFolio, hit the daily drop button, subscribe. It's free, and every day of the 5 days of the week you'll get something new. And on Tuesdays, it's trends that are popping and trends that aren't popping. And hope you subscribe to that. Subscribe to the podcast and our YouTube channel or wherever you're listening. We appreciate you. Great job, Megan.
Thanks for the insight, guys.
Cool find.
Yep.